It's not easy being a parent, especially if your kids are 12 or 13. A woman says, "Doctor, I'd like you to evaluate my 13-year-old son." "Okay," said the doctor. "He's suffering from a transient psychosis with an intermittent rage disorder punctuated by episodic radical mood swings, but his prognosis is good for full recovery." The woman was surprised. "How can you say all that without even meeting him?" The doctor said, "I thought you said he was 13. It's not easy being a parent, or a young person for that matter. But the latter is another homily for another time. And since a lot of the students are gone this weekend, I'm focusing on you. Conflict within families, particularly between generations, is as old as time. Young people going through radical hormonal and physical changes start distancing themselves from their parents as they begin to establish their own identity. One writer described the changes this way. She says, "Young children behave like dogs. That is, they're affectionate and they love being with you. But when they hit the teen years, they start acting like cats. Distant and finicky. They make you feel totally unneeded." I guess it sort of goes with the territory, doesn't it? Professionals call it individuation. It's the process of forging your own identity, which absolutely must be different than the identity of the parents. That's why I love the story in the gospel this morning about Jesus and his mom and dad, with its deep understanding of the human condition. Here are two parents facing the adolescent years for themselves now. And even this holy family had to face the individuation of their own son from them. Here Jesus is getting lost in this conversation. He's losing all track of time, and he forgets to tell his parents. And you can understand his parents' fears for this one and only. They were worried to death, and their deep hurt, their understandable hurt. Here they are waiting and waiting for him to come home, and they begin to be afraid they may never see him again. And the boy, when they did find him finally, was given a piece of their mind. Mary did not hold back her rebuke. Her fear flips to anger like that. "Son, why have you treated us like this?" And like most adolescents, Jesus strikes back with his own rebuke. "Why are you searching for me, and why are you saying this in front of all these people?" I can take care of myself. I'm old enough now. And then, "Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" As if to say, I'm doing my own thing now, okay? Again, it's that classic coming-of-age story. Kid defends himself by saying he has to do something to prove himself, to discover who he is. Each teenager has to do this. I repeat, has to do this. They have to become different than you, than their parents or their parent figures. Or else, as much as we'd like in our darkest moments for them to stay little kids, depending on us forever, it's the wrong solution, and it only leads to the self-destruction of our ones and onlys. I see it in college kids way too often. Parents who would not let their children become different than they are. And so they want them to remain dependent on them. And in that privileged, ego-inflating identity they have as parents to these remarkable kids. And their kids have to end up working through this then, if it didn't happen when it was supposed to. They have to work through this then in their 20s, in their mid-30s, and yes, even in their 40s. The work must be done. And yes, raising adolescents is in the end anything but ego-inflating for parents. It's actually ego-shattering. But that's the stuff of our holiness. When our egos begin to get shattered, even by those adolescent kids of ours, that's when we can finally get more holy than we've ever been before. Because the ego has to begin to diminish. It's just part of the journey. And that's our work, actually. The hardest part is that it will almost always be an energy against us, a sort of pushing away from us. And our work as their parents and as their parent figures is to let them do that, to let them go. Oh, for sure, there's place for boundaries, and boundaries are very important. We all know that. But in the end, our work is to let them do that, to let them go. Again, it's not easy being a parent. And so there will usually be lots of anger in this process, lots of fears, and lots of tears along the way. There will be wounding for both sides. But it has to happen. This is a classic coming-of-age story. It's the drama of an adolescent going through moments we have all gone through in the treacherous waters of growing up. It is common to every family, and it is primal. Jesus is asserting his independence against his parents. The young person has to come to know who they are apart from mom and dad. Parents, godparents, grandparents, parent figures of any sort. I give you 6 brief things to remember when it's not easy anymore. Number 1, don't freak out. Don't panic. This is what happens. It even happened in Jesus' family. Number 2, besides not panicking about all this, don't take it personally. It's the worst thing you can do to yourself. It's just not personal. They're only doing their work. And remember, something's wrong if your kids are not pushing back. Not if they are. Number 3, besides not freaking out, besides not taking it personally, keep a sense of humor and help each other remember to laugh over how ludicrous this is in its very universality. Do the letting go. And number 5 really is do the letting go. Oh, I'm sorry, number 4. Sorry. For sure those boundaries are important. But I do advise you to check them out with other people you respect your age and make sure they're not too severe or too loose. I can't tell you the number of times I've been invited to dinner in the homes of families with teenagers where I become like a union negotiator on curfew. Number 5, do your own letting go. You got to do your own letting go that enables you to say, they are not me. They are not me. You cannot say that enough. They are not me. And finally, make sure the kids know that no matter what, you are committed to them. No matter what, you are committed to them, and nothing will break that commitment. Ever. A tired mom opens the front door of her home. She finds a young minister from the neighborhood. The pastor says to her, hey, I'm collecting donations for the new children's home we're building. I hope you'll give what you can. To be sure, the beleaguered woman said, I'll give you 2 boys and 2 girls. You know what that young mom felt. And you also know she was just kidding. There's nothing she would do to exchange her children. She's utterly committed to her kids. Her children may bring her all kinds of heartache, particularly during these adolescent years. But they need to know that your love is constant. That your love is a constant in their life, no matter how tense and horrible things can get. And they need to know that they will never cease to be your daughter or your son. Never cease to be yours. And that's why I'm convinced, as tense as things got in this scene in the gospel between this adolescent male and his parents, that's why Jesus could go back with them to Nazareth from that horrible moment, that embarrassing scene. He could go back to Nazareth with them then and listen to them more than ever. Listen to them more than ever. And grow in wisdom and in age and in grace, because there, in spite of this incident, there, the drama of coming of age in a family, any family and every family, he knew he was loved. And he knew they would not take that love away. And that these parents of his were very, very, very committed to him, no matter what. And what they got back in the end was their son growing up. A whole new level of relationship. That's all any of us need to know, really, isn't it? In any relationship in our lives, even in our marriages, that when it's our turn to grow up, still, in any relationship, all we need to know is, as bad as things can get, nobody's leaving. We're committed. Yes, indeed. Parenting is not easy. But all along, in the midst of all this, that's what makes a holy family.